Hi there, I'm Alexander and today we'll be analyzing a rapid game played between Penguin GM, aka Andrew Tank, and DM CaptainObvious. I couldn't find much infos on Captain Obvious, so I'm gonna just stick to calling him that. So the game it's under 8-minute time format, and without further ado, let's get to it. So the game starts with d4, and here we have f5, and already from the second move we have an interesting response to d4. So the Dutch defense is on the board. This sounds fun, as I think it's quite the aggressive line. Anyway, back to the game. Knight to f3, e6, c4, knight to f6, all standard theory. g3, white plans to fianchetto his bishop. Black develops dark squared bishop to e7, and maybe eventually planning to castle. White continues as planned with bishop g2. Black castles, white castles. Here we ended up with the classical variation of the Dutch defense. Anyway, d6, gaining more control over the center. b4, white replies by expanding on the queen side. a5 from black, challenging white's expansion. Here white doesn't gain anything from capturing. If anything, it would be helping the opponent. So he advances the pawn to b5. Black develops bishop to d7, planning maybe to push his c-pawn. White continues his development with bishop to b2. Black pushes c6. We have a4, adding further protection to the pawn. And queen e8. Black thinks it's time to get the queen involved. Knight b d2. And black puts his queen on h5, starting to build pressure around the white king. White 2 develops his queen to c2. Bishop e8, getting it in the game. And here, if I go a move back, the bishop here, it's merely a pawn. It's protecting this pawn, so it's protecting the base of the pawn chain without being active. So black develops it to e8. Here we have e4. White thinks it's time to open up the game in the center. So f takes on e4, knight takes on e4, and here we have bishop g6, pinning the knight to the queen. White unpins with knight takes on f6 check. Rook takes on f6, capturing back the piece. And queen is forced to move, so queen to e2. White tries to keep his queen in the center and as active as possible. So c takes on b5 and a takes on b5. Knight to d7, planning on going maybe to b6 or f8. Rook f e1, developing it to the semi-open file, as rooks, as we know, flourish on open lines. Rook a f8, doubling up on the f file. Rook a3, adding further protection to the knight on f3. Black proceeds with e5. And we have bishop c1, which Stockfish considers as a mistake and prefers here h3. Hypothetically, here black could have continued with e4, forcing the knight on f3 to move to h4. and then one line continues with d5, opening an attack from the bishop on e7 to the rook on a3. But anyway, back to the game. So black played bishop c1, and here black responded with a4, which seems again, according to Stockfish, as a mistake. Stockfish prefers the move e4 here. Sorry. So anyway, we have a4, h4, which Stockfish again considers as a mistake, preferring the quiet h3 suggested in the hypothetical line earlier on. So anyway, back to the game. h4. Here we have something similar to the line we've seen before. So black pushes d5 and threatens the rook on a3 with the bishop on e7. So white captures, d takes on e5. Here we have bishop takes rook on a3, e takes f6, getting black's rook in the way, rook e8 threatening to capture the queen on e2, queen retreats to d1, bishop takes on c1, queen takes back on c1, rook takes on e1 check, queen takes rook, knight takes pawn on f6, knight g5, controlling the key squares on e4, e6 and f7, sorry. So in some lines there could be some combinations with the queen and the knight, trying to checkmate the king due to the weaknesses on the light squares as shown here. Here black plays queen to g4, which is quite the blunder. So queen to g4 loses the game almost instantaneously due to the powerful bishop to h3. So black tries to get his queen out of trouble's way to d4, but it's over. White finishes the game in beauty with king to e7. With queen to e7. And here DM CaptainObvious resigns the game. Why did he resign the game? Well, black here could deliver like a check on a1, and then we would have king to h2, and black would be forced to, because he's without a move, to give his knight on g4 check. White would have to capture with the bishop takes on g4, and here we would have queen to f6, trying to get back in time to protect the king from checkmate. But here white would play calmly bishop to e6 check, and we would have king to h8. Here white would finish in beauty with knight to f7, and here the black queen would have to take on f7. If the black queen wouldn't take on f7, let's say he plays bishop takes on f7, we would have queen to f8 checkmate. So yeah, anyway, Uh, it just losing since that queen on e7 earlier on. Anyway, hope you like this game and analysis, and if you like my content, please make sure to subscribe. So bye bye for now. Bye.